Happy August. I'm going to begin with Benjy Wertheimer from the voice of the Esraj. This song's called Devotion. It's August. It's my birthday month, and a lot of other people. It's about rebirth for me, but let's just take a moment. If you're comfortable, close your eyes, put your left hand on your heart. And just breathe deeply into this energy. Breathe in through the nose. Slowly exhale from the mouth. Continue with that cycle. It's just hauntingly beautiful. I'm going to anchor us in. Keep your left hand on your heart, right hand on your belly. Let's anchor in our body, our mind, our heart, our soul. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Let's pause that. Just a beautiful song, a beautiful way to begin the day, the moment, the hour. So thank you for being here. Rebirth. It's August 2021. My birthday's August 13th, and I'm very excited about it. I always celebrate my birthday more than any of the holidays because it's the way that my spirit decided to incarnate at this time in this form, which I will never be this again. So what does rebirth mean for you? What does rebirth look like for you? For me, it's not an evaluating of the past in a way of things that didn't work. It's looking at all that arose and how I shifted in consciousness and grew. And yes, I'm guided along the materialistic realm of hey, I taught this many kids and I did this at this school, but that's not what I'm talking about with rebirth. With rebirth, it's that opportunity to pause and to renew our mind and heart and soul in every moment. And the process of rebirth begins by first going within, which is why your meditation practice is essential. If you don't have a meditation practice, just begin with 10 breaths. 10 breaths with your eyes closed, your left hand on your heart, your right hand if you're male. So in Peruvian shamanism, it's the left hand, divine feminine is the left, divine masculine is the right. And connecting in your body and your breath, and just allow yourself to anchor into this moment. And to build from 10 breaths to 20, and then 20 to 30. And then you get to the point where you're not even counting your breaths, you're just feeling into it. And to know that the mind's going to wander, because that's natural for the mind to wander, but you'll get to a point where it'll create like this almost dissonance at a certain point when your eyes are closed. And if you can just breathe through that discomfort, knowing that you're safe, then the energy starts to settle. And that's the place of just being present fully, like there's no separation. And then the mind will come back with a thought, and then you bring it back to the breath. But to rebirth, to renew my mind in every moment, is to literally look at my mind, watch my mind, what thoughts are arising, where am I, stuck, what's ruminating, what patterns am I not willing to look at, what's the hook? Or like with grief, the love that's no longer there, and that love that is still present that has not metabolized, that energy hasn't metabolized the loss, but it's walking with it and being present to it with love and kindness. I've taken just a very small break from social media and even phone conversations, and I found how rich that was, how much of my energy was going outward because I'm generous with my time and energy. But what I needed was complete awareness and just loving kindness for myself. I've had a lot of losses since May, and I know people have losses all the time. I've experienced the death of 2 aunts, a very dear teacher friend of mine. So all 3 of those in May. And then my mom got really, really sick that I thought she was going to die those 2 weeks. and she experiences bronchiectasis, which is a lung condition. So with the Delta variant coming up, I actually got depressed about it. I noticed I felt depressed about it because of being socially isolated, and then the anger that was coming up because I felt like people weren't being empathetic and compassionate towards people like my mother, who could easily catch this virus. We still don't know what caused the lung condition. I don't think they tested her for the variant, but it didn't test positive for COVID. It wasn't flu. It wasn't strep. We don't know what it was. And so I just noticed these last several months, just the energy of grief. And as I speak on August 2nd, it's 8:37 a.m. right now, I have a friend who's dying from a brain tumor. And I'm just heartbroken by that. And I don't get to go see her or her husband because they live in Costa Rica. So I've been walking with the darkness. And that's interesting because when you're in the womb, it is dark, but you're in this liquid. And you've got the drumbeat of your mother's heart and the nourishment that is coming in and sustaining you. And you're literally in this little cocoon, like the caterpillar that's, dissolved and is turning into a butterfly. Well, we begin from this little teeny tiny seed and evolve. And so the rebirth process is going into that cocoon, not to hide, but to be born again into the moment of what is seeking to arise, what is seeking to emerge, what is calling me. I'm going to have a conversation with my friend Rebecca Wynn. We're going to do a podcast together. Shh, don't tell anybody. I shouldn't have said that. But it's about the nuances and nudges, how these subtle signals, the glance this way, the nudge that says turn here, how it leads you into your next step. And you can only see the next 5 yards, but for me, I've been sitting in the hallway of the liminal so long because of this pandemic, because of circumstances beyond my control that shifted my program here, and trying to see what's being birthed, what's new, what's emerging. To teach the teachers is what I'm being called to do. Well, what does that look like? How is that going to unfold? Who's going to pay for it? All these things that are happening. But in the cocoon, I'm just kind of like sitting with and being with the discomfort, the uncertainty, the grief, the loss. My friend Sarah called it the fermentation, that fermentation of grief that's really rich. And those of us who do take it deeper really live a rich life. It's not comfortable. It's not easy. It's part of the human journey. But being present to it then allows that dissolving, and it dissolves into something new. And that's the rebirth. Something seeking to emerge. Something new that is being born. And that's where I'm at. I'm listening. I'm attuning. Now I use the picture of Machu Picchu, which is a phenomenal sight. And it was such a blur when I was there in 2005. First of all, let me tell you the story. So at age 9, I found a National Geographic Explorer magazine with Machu Picchu, and I was immediately drawn to it. I'm like, oh my God, what is this place? And as a kid, I was always drawn to the mystical, like the pyramids and Stonehenge and, all the pyramids from around the world, but especially Egypt, and then Teotihuacan, and then, like I said, Stonehenge and the Nazca Lines, and of course, Machu Picchu. And I was just intrigued. And I planted a seed at 9 that I was going to see Machu Picchu in person. And it took me 33 years to get there. And when I got there, there had been a storm. It had been raining. I'll never forget this. I was sitting at the fire. So when you go to Peru, you got to acclimate for 3 days in Cusco. And then you take the train to go to Aguascalientes, the town underneath, because you're going to take a bus the day you go up to the ruins. But I'm sitting in this, hostel. Was it called a hostel or just a really Gringo Bills, I think, or something? Anyhow, I'll get that later. But anyhow, a very inexpensive place to stay, which was interesting in itself. But I'm sitting around a fire with people from around the world, and there's this couple, and they were from, I think the guy was from Australia and she was from England. And he was talking about how it just was raining everywhere that they went. And I looked at him because we're sitting, I finally get to Aguascalientes. I'm in Peru and it's raining. We're waiting to be able to go up to the mountain, all right? And I looked at him, I go, so when are y'all leaving? And they were literally leaving the next morning. So that next morning, I am not kidding, I woke up, not to be gross, but I thought I was really careful because in Peru you can't even get water in your mouth from the shower. Like you can't drink the water, you can't get droplets of water in you because you'll get sick. And sure enough, oh my God, it hit me hard in the morning. I could hear the rooster, and all of a sudden I had the diarrhea. I hate to say that. And then my friend knocked on the door that I went with, and she's like, "Hey, the rain is parting. Let's go." And I remember taking ammonium AD. I had M&Ms, this little almost like pita-like bread that they made, and Gatorade. That was it. And went up to the ruins, and you got to take the little bus and zigzag up, and I'm sitting in the front, not knowing that she was getting car sick because she didn't like being in the front of this bus. And then we're all got our little, ponchos on, so we look like a bunch of Easter eggs, all these different colored ponchos going up. And I'll never forget, I'm standing there, finally getting there to where I can see the mountain, and the clouds begin to part, and I start weeping, because at 9 I dreamed of that, to walk the Inca trails, to walk those stones, to feel the energy and that power of that intention at 9. And I use that image because Machu Picchu is considered the sacral chakra point, because there's all these different chakra points on our planet, just as we have in our body. And at some point I'll do a chakra series. But the sacral is the sensuality and sacred sexuality. And so it's about partnership, but it's also about creativity. And because I was, healing from a partnership that I thought was the one, and that took a U-turn, I'm focused on my creativity. What can I give birth to with the gifts that I've been given? The way that the divine shows up as my life. What can I give birth to? And that's why I'm reading Alicia Keys, and her book is over there, More Myself. Phenomenal. Listen to her podcast with Brene Brown. And then I'm taking her masterclass on songwriting because I want to take my poems and make songs. And I'm not doing it because I'm like, I'm going to become the next, multimillionaire. No, because I've got to express this creativity, this energy. What I also realized with creativity, I miss dancing. I love dancing. And I didn't go to ecstatic dance because I'm being very mindful of this variant that's out there. I'm not being paranoid. I'm being mindful. And I'm being, very aware of, I don't want to carry something that I take home to my mother, to somebody else. And so anyhow, I haven't had this ability to dance, and not just a dance to move the body. There's a sacred connection in dance. And there's literally a rebirth process through the dance. And I wrote down the quote. I got to find it, what my friend said. Hang on. Because I do have to share this, because I get these beautiful messages from my friend. I'll mention her again, Sarah. And she says, she's talking about dance. She says, yes, sometimes when nothing makes any fucking sense, dancing is the only thing that does. Pardon the F-bomb. Anyhow, so creativity. So I'm rebirthing in creativity and in the photography that I have and the poetry. And yes, there has to be this reciprocal exchange. So thank you for being here on Patreon, because in your gifting me the ability to share my gifts with you through the photos and the affirmations and these videos. But then it's also going to fund me not only to teach children mindfulness, but then to get that creativity out, to get the energy to edit my mindfulness book, but also to get the photography and the inspiration to activate you into beauty. So the rebirth process for me is really, noticing where my energy may be going out too much because of just the generous nature that I have, and to really go inward and then use that, process of transformation and transmutation, then to create creative projects that inspire you and others to ignite themselves in their gifts and dreams, and to stand at the precipice of that new, whether it's standing at Machu Picchu after 33 years waiting, or standing somewhere after 3 minutes, but to find that love and that joy and creativity in your life that expresses. We are here, spiritual beings having this human experience, but we are here for the glory of the divine. That's the everyday sacred. It is all sacred. Even the fermentation, even the grief, even the stagnation, it's all the divine. It's all part of the alchemical process of awakening to the awareness of the one life and the one power and the one love and the one truth and the one reality that's my life, your life, all of life. And that's what we're here for. So rebirth. renewing of the mind, born in every moment, the gifts that are seeking to express themselves. New. You're not the same person that you were even yesterday. I'm not the same person I was last year. I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago. The core of my being is the kindness, the love, the joy, the wisdom, the peace. That core of my being is. But I'm evolving and awakening. So that's the invitation for August, rebirth. So what's your intention? What is your intention for rebirth? What are you willing to let go? Now, let me find this quote from Alicia Keys. We'll end with this quote, and then Benjy Wertheimer. I'll post a link on him too. She says in More Myself a Journey, growth requires movement, and often the only way forward is through an exit door. So as I exit this year, this last year, and just, looking at all the ways that my program has shifted and the ability to teach children. I saw a student as I was walking around White Rock Lake, and she's in middle school, Spence Middle School, and just that they remember me and they remember the practices. I'm like, if you're not practicing, that's okay. Today's a great day to start. But just looking at my life and then looking forward and listening and attuning. I'll post here whenever that podcast gets done. You really want to listen to it. If you haven't read Rebecca Wynn's 100 Daffodils, read it. It's phenomenal. It could be part of your rebirth process. So tune in. What is seeking to emerge? What is seeking to reveal? What are the necessary steps? I'm a powerful spiritual being, and everything necessary for my life is available to me now. A mantra that simple. I'm healthy. I'm whole. I'm happy. I'm wealthy. Now. I'm guided in every moment in divine right action and order. Find a mantra that is for your rebirth. Listen, take those small steps, and know that what is emerging is for not only the benefit of you, but the benefit of all beings. So we're going to anchor out here with Benjy. You have a glorious day. Left hand on heart, one on belly. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Many blessings. Happy rebirth. Have a glorious day and a glorious month. Stay tuned for more inspiration.